fellow collectors, and welcome to Long's Toys. Today we are taking a look at DX Kyoryujin full action version from Zyuden Sentai Kyoryuger. Now, I say it's from Kyoryuger, but it's also kind of from King-Ohger because they had 2 episodes where they crossed over, and so they are kind of doing this. It has compatibility with King-Ohger, so it's in celebration of the anniversary, but it's also kind of a tie-in. But basically, this is a new version of Kyoryujin with a lot more articulation. It does not have electronics. It does not come with Judenchi. There's no Judenchi compatibility with this. So it's kind of a redefined, streamlined version so it can have more articulation. And also, it has compatibility with King-Ohger, which we'll get to later, which is really cool. But I am super excited for this. I mean, Kyoryuger is easily my favorite Sentai. There's just so much about it that I love. The cast, the motif, the gimmick. It's dinosaurs. What's not to love there? The set design, the music, just everything about Kyoryuger is so fun, and I love it so much. So when they announced that they were doing a crossover for the anniversary with the current Sentai, and they're getting new merch, I mean, I was just in heaven. I mean, this is absolutely fantastic to me. They even kind of emulated the old packaging here, which I think is super fun. We have Gabutira, Stagochi, and Dricera. I always say Tricera, which is not correct. Dricera. I can never say this one correct. Anyway, the pink one, the Triceratops, is also here. On the top here, we get a picture of close-up of Kyoryujin's head. We have the 5 Kyoryugers here. Over here, just kind of some, close-up pictures of Kyoryujin. And then over here we have glare, lots of glare. Sorry about that. We have the 3 showing that they combined. And then on the bottom, I don't think there's, just some more pictures. But the packaging is just beautiful. It looks great. Very reminiscent of the original packaging, which is really cool. Shows off the features. Of course, they combined. We have Kyoryujin. And then we have the compatibility with King-Ohger that I talked about, where you can use everyone but Kuwagata-Ohger. Well, I guess technically that's not true because you're only using the 5 little ones, ant, 2 spiders, 2 ladybugs. You don't use them either. You're just going to use these 4. He kind of gets new legs and the sword and a backpack. We'll get into it. But it's neat. It's fun. Anytime you can kind of mix and match stuff, that's always a good time. But even just to get a new articulated version of Kyoryujin is really, really cool. So I am super excited for this. I'm going to go ahead, get everything out of the box here, and we're going to dive in. Alright, so here is everything out of the box. Of course, we have our now fully assembled Gabutira, Stagochi, and Dricera. Now, there's not really anything you have to do to put these 2 together. For Dricera, I really don't even think there's anything you have to do. For Stagochi, the most you have to do is just attach the sword piece. They're very tiny. They're much smaller. I feel like they're significantly smaller than the originals. Unfortunately, I don't have the originals handy to do direct comparisons. They have long since been packed away. I mean, it's been 10 years, guys. But I can definitely tell you from just memory, these are much smaller. They don't move. You don't have to move the legs at all. They don't flip around or anything like that. When we're opening the mouths, they just kind of flip up. They don't slide up like they used to. There's just a little connector in there. There's nowhere for the battery because there are no batteries, which is also why these can be smaller, because those complicated battery slide pieces is what made them so bulky and everything. So they look great though, honestly. I think the paint applications look really nice. And they're just fun little figures. You can see the hands, but that's same as always. So really nice, simple, slimmed down, functional. I like them. Stagochi, very much the same. You just pop this off, and then again, this just is on a hinge, and it just flips up, and then there's a connector inside. But he's got some nice paint there, red for the eyes, a little bit of silver trim, got the yellow. And then the sword piece here just works pretty much exactly like the old one did. Flips up, you have the nice, the 5 colors of the team there, which I really like. So here's the sword mode, or you can flip this back down and flip these to the side for the shield mode. So it can still do both, which is cool. I wasn't expecting that. Honestly, I figured they would eliminate the hinges here, so you wouldn't be able to do the shield mode since it's kind of smaller. But hey, they kept it in. So very cool. Very nice. And then this just very simply clicks right back on. So there you go. So those are the 2 smaller dinos. We'll put them off to the side so we can check out Gabutira. Now, there is a decent amount of assembly required. When you first get this, the pants or legs come separately, which you connect to the torso here. There's a joint here in the waist. Obviously, this piece comes off. So this came separately. You just slide this in here. You had to connect the leg pieces. There's ball joints here, so you had to pop them in. And it was a pretty snug fit to get these into the ball joints, but what you do once you do, they work great. Then you connect these pieces onto the side of the legs. So, I mean, it's very simple. It's really not that difficult to figure out. And, of course, you get the directions from the QR code on the back of the packaging. But he looks great. I mean, it looks very, very reminiscent of the original toy. Obviously, there are some changes. You can see the connections here for the compatibility with Kingohger. And, of course, articulation. There's so much articulation. Now, the helmet used to come off and store in the tail. That is not the case here. The head is one solid piece. It is on a ball joint, but an amazing range of motion for the ball joint there. But you just kind of hide it there. There's not really anything you can do about that. You have a ball joint here for the Gabutira head. The mouth opens. Now again, no batteries. There's kind of like a fake little battery kind of molded in there and painted silver. But no Judenchi here. But you have all that range of motion. You have butterfly joints. Look at these butterfly joints. So you can have Gabutira, like, you know, kind of curving around with the tail. You can kind of wag the tail back and forth if you want. There's movement up and down here for like the shoulder pads in the robot mode. I mean, it's crazy. The arms can come up pretty far all the way down. Of course, you have this, whatever movement you would have for the robot mode. So like these can move. You're not really supposed to move these, but you can certainly move the legs here. You have this motion. You have the ball joint that I talked about here at the foot. So it's great. I mean, there's a lot of amazing articulation in Gabutira, but I kind of love utilizing the butterfly joints to kind of make it look like he's, you know, turning a corner or curving around for an attack or something. It's just really cool. I love that. I think that looks fantastic. So this is great. I mean, the three of these, I'm so happy. It's so fun to have, you know, a new Kyoryujin toy and a really good Kyoryujin toy. I mean, the paint applications look fantastic. All of the silver trim, the green for the eyes, I think looks good. Also, these don't move. I think on the original one, you used to be able to push them down, and then when you put the battery in, they'd pop up. This is a solid piece now, so nothing like that. But yeah, it's really cool. I like it a lot. It looks fantastic. It's just really, really cool, and I'm having a blast with it. Yeah, let's go ahead. Let's get into the combination. So to begin the transformation, I'm going to take these two and just put them off to the side. They'll come into play a little bit later on. So most of the transformation obviously is going to happen here with Gabutira. So I'm just going to kind of straighten that all out. We're going to start by taking the tail piece off, and we can put that down for a moment. Then we're just going to flip the legs down like so, and then take this, what will be the hip joint, and flip that down as well. Then hit these buttons, hold them down, and the legs will extend out. Very similar to how the original toy transformed. Flip down the little T-Rex arms, and I'm going to utilize some ankle tilt here just to kind of stabilize this. Then we're going to rotate this torso section here. We can go ahead, rotate the head. We're going to lift out these arm sections, kind of bend this a little bit, and then spin it at the bicep so you kind of align the elbow joint. Like that. So that's most of the transformation done. We're going to spin around to the back, take the tail piece. We're going to flip out these little connectors here, which I thought it was kind of neat that they just kind of store up in there so they're not super noticeable. Split that open, and then that's going to peg into these two clips here on the back. I'm going to bend him a little bit here. Give him a little bit more of a natural stance. And then we'll flail these out. Bring this a little forward. Takes Tagochi. Pop the sword off. And then you just flip that down. And then this connector in here connects right here onto this piece. Flip up the sword. Peg that in. Drakera. Extend. Flip that. Flip that open. And I promise this connects in here. For some reason, I seem to have more trouble with this one than with this one. I don't know why. But they all connect, and here we have our brand new Kyoryujin figure. And it's just fantastic. I love it. I absolutely love it. It just looks so good. I mean, all the articulation is amazing. Now, if I had to guess, I would say that this is smaller than the original. The other one would have been probably like an extra 5 to 6 inches tall and definitely bulkier because they've removed all the electronics and the batteries and everything out of this. The button does not do anything. It's not even a button here on the torso, but yeah, he's just fun. He just looks great. I love it. I mean, I've always loved this design, and to get a super articulated version is absolutely fantastic. So we already talked about the head articulation. You have a ball joint for that with a huge range of motion. Look down, look up, side to side, tilt side to side. Really nice range of motion there. You do have the T-Rex head that still has that ball joint, but the shoulder pads can kind of move a little bit as well. So you kind of have to move the T-Rex head to kind of, because it will hit a little bit, but you can just find clearance. You have that butterfly joint, which is really nice, especially because you have this tailpiece on the back, which looks amazing, but when you want to utilize the shoulder, it can hit into it. But if you just utilize the butterfly joint, then you can get full range of motion out of that with no clearance issues, which is really nice. You also have a hinge here, so you can hinge up the arms there at the shoulder. You have a bicep swivel, 90 degrees in the elbow. Now, obviously, Stagochi and Drakera don't have any articulation, so there's nothing at the wrist. The forearm is a solid piece, everything there. You do have a waist swivel as well, which we saw earlier. Let me see if I can get these arms out of the way. Really nice range of motion in the hips. Kick pretty far out to the side. Pretty much all the way forward. Now it's going to hit into the tailpiece. Now if you really wanted to, I mean if you needed to get some kind of pose, you could just take this off. And then that would open up a ton of articulation for you. So if you wanted like a crazy running pose, you could just take that off. It's completely up to you. But just the amount of articulation packed into this guy is amazing. Knees. He's got knees. That's awesome. And thigh swivels. And then we have a giant ball joint down here for the ankles. So really, really cool. Now, I'm not super great at posing, but let me see what I can come up with. I don't know, maybe something like that. Can I still get this back on? I'll have to pop that up. How about something like that? That's not bad. That's kind of cool. I mean, that's the tip of the iceberg. There's so much more you could do. I'm sure you're better at posing than I am. You can get all kinds of cool stuff going on. I mean, it's just an amazing amount of posability. This is such a really fun figure. And if you know, there's the original one still exists. If you want the songs and the electronics and the gimmick, that's all there. And this is kind of a new, streamlined interpretation if you just want something that looks amazing and is super posable. So I'm super happy to grab this. I think it looks amazing. I love it. I just really love it. Let's see if we can bring in King-Ohger real quick just for a size comparison since they teamed up on the show. They're about the same size. I mean, King-Ohger's maybe slightly a little bit taller, but not really. Yeah, they look pretty cool together, battling side by side. I mean, this is such a better, cleaner design in my opinion, but you know, it's cool to have them together since they teamed up and be about the same size. I think that's really fun. But that's not where the camaraderie ends. There's a combination that we can do. To get set up for the combination with King-Ohger, we are going to remove the arms, which can be easier said than done. All right, they're cooperating today. Sweet, sweet. There we go. We will take these and put these off to the side. They are not used at all in this combination. We are going to come over here and we are going to completely remove these giant T-Rex legs. So they will unhook from the sides. I'm going to kind of straighten out everything posability-wise just for simplicity. Just kind of put this all back to square one. Lift these up a little bit so that you can close these up, because these have to slide back up. And then you can kind of put these down. They're not going to extend as far, but that's fine. So there we go. He is ready. I'm going to bring in the King-Ohger feet. So we have the mantis here. And we have our bee. I know B is Hachi, but I'm completely blanking on the name of the mantis for some reason, which is not great because I hear it 100 times every episode. So there we go. Now we have some King-Ohger feet. We are going to take these, which I think this is actually kind of interesting. So you're going to take the leg, rotate the foot 180. So this is going to flip around like so. Then we are going to bend here. There is a hinge, fairly obvious hinge. This is going to come around, and then this little tab right here is going to peg in right here, like so. And then we are going to just rotate the wrist 90 degrees. And then this is going to peg in over here where the arms used to be, giving him new arms. So his feet are now his arms. So we're going to take the other one. We are going to do the same thing. Rotate this 180 degrees. Flip this around. Peg that in. Rotate the hand 90 degrees. And then peg this in over here. So there we go. There are his new hands and his new feet. But we're not quite done. We're going to spin this around. This little white section here is actually going to swivel down 90 degrees and just kind of rest there. We're going to take the Tombo or Dragonfly and we're going to drop this Kamakiri. Just hit me. I don't know why I had trouble blanking on that, but yes, Kamakiri is the mantis. Then we're going to take Papillon, or drop it apparently. Now here's the thing. They say to plug this in here. You can if you want. You don't have to. I mean, this I feel like it gives it the wings. You can see them from the front. It adds something to it. This one doesn't really do anything, in my opinion. If you want to connect it on here, you can go right ahead. If you want to leave it on King-Ohger, you could do that. But you can attach that. Or maybe is that upside down? I don't know. It doesn't matter. It doesn't need to be here. It doesn't serve a purpose. It's just so they can say the entire butterfly is included. It's up to you. I mean, if you're pulling the pieces off King-Ohger, I feel like you could leave it its head and just take these. It's up to you. But if you want to connect it there on the back, you certainly can. And then, of course, we will bring in our sword and go ahead and pop that in his hand. And there you go. You got King-Ohger, Kyoryujin. This form probably has a name, but I don't know. It is, I guess, technically just Gabutira combined with Kamakiri, Hachi, Papillon, and Tombo. Now, if you want, you can bring in the sword from Stagochi and have him dual wield swords. I believe this fits. It fit earlier. There we go. So you want him to have two swords. Now, obviously, there's nowhere to attach Stagochi or Dracera, but technically, if you wanted, you could leave them on. You could leave. There's no reason you could just put these legs to the side and you could use Stagochi and Dracera, but then you wouldn't be able to hold the sword. The sword does not fit in their hands because they're so molded in there that this is too square and blocky that it won't fit in here. But then you could just have them use this sword. So if you wanted to just have Tombo on the back and these two down here for feet and leave Stagochi and Dracera and just use this sword instead of that sword, you could. You have options. You can mix and match to some extent. But I think this is officially the form of the combination with the Kingohger pieces. But I think it's kind of neat. I mean, it doesn't need to exist, but it's cool. I like it. I think it's fun. I think it's really neat how the giant T-Rex feet can kind of turn into new arms. Now, obviously, yes, you do have a bunch of kibble hanging off the back here. If you really wanted, you could try to pop these pieces off the ball joint, but I probably wouldn't advise that just because of how difficult it was to get them on the ball joints. I don't know if that's a kind of thing that it's meant to come on and off all that much, but you could try it if you wanted to. I'm not going to, but you could. But this is neat. It's just a new combination. It brings it current. It's celebrating the anniversary, but also having it have interaction with the current show, which I think is really cool, and I like that quite a bit. So yeah, I'm digging this. I don't love it as much as the full Kyoryujin. That's going to be my favorite, of course, but I think this is really neat and innovative, and I'm glad they did it, and I think it's really cool. As you can probably tell, I love this thing. I mean, I'm a huge Kyoryuger fan, like I said back in the beginning of the video, so I understand I'm a little biased, but I loved Kyoryujin back in the day, you know, using the different batteries to make the different combinations and having the different jingles play was such a fun gimmick. And, you know, do I miss that here? A little bit, but at the end of the day, this is a better, cleaner, streamlined version of Kyoryujin where it's sacrificed those elements to have amazing articulation so you can really put it in fantastic poses, and it's just super fun. If you missed out on the old Kyoryujin, I'd still recommend probably trying to track down one of those because that, you know, gimmick and battery matching the forms and everything gimmick was so fun. But if you just want a good, streamlined, clean version of this design with amazing paint applications and articulation, this is, you know, this is definitely the toy for you. I can't sing its praises enough. It's so fun transforming it back and forth. The transformation is satisfying, but not overly complicated. Even the combination with Kingohger is fairly simplistic, but still cool. And so I really appreciate that. When you get into like God Kingohger, it gets to be a mess. It's too many things getting connected. There's too much weight. You know, you're trying to connect things. It's not, you can't do anything with it when you're done. This form and the combination with Kingohger both have still great articulation. You can pose them a ton. Like, this is a really fun toy, whereas like other giant things like God Kingohger, you kind of have to form it and then sit it somewhere and just look at it. This is fun to pose and to transform back and forth. It's easy. It's great. It looks fantastic. And just all around, it's a lot of fun. And I really, really, really like this quite a bit. I kind of wish they'd keep going. I would love to get the rest of the mecha for Kyoryuger in this style. I mean, I definitely need Zakutoru and Parasaigon to complete that because I need the different arms. But then I would love for them to do like a full action version of Terragordon. I mean, just keep going. You know, give me all the crazy combinations for Kyoryuger, but with this level of articulation, I'll keep buying them. I promise. Bandai, if you're listening, I will keep going. I'll keep buying them. Please keep going. I hope this sold well. I know that they've already announced a black and gold version that they're doing as well. So maybe if that sells well, they'll keep going. I don't know. Obviously, they're going to milk the current mold as much as possible. I get that. But please, please, please keep going. I want more for this. I want the whole line of the Judenryu for this scale, play pattern, whatever you want to call it. In any case, I love this. I cannot recommend it enough. I actually got mine from HLJ, but I believe I've seen it on Amazon Japan. Toku Collectibles, a lot of people have this around, so if you can find one for a good price, track it down and just enjoy. If you're a Kyoryuger fan at all, I think this is a must for the collection. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Please like, share, and subscribe. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and as always, thank you so much for watching.